Hello guys, Damien Jones here again for you today, and today we're going to be doing a double review here on two of my favourite, well, I love all vintage Star Wars figures, but two of my particularly well remembered Star Wars figures. We have on the left here, we have Squid Head, and on the right here we have Admiral AKBAR. Now we're going to cover Squid Head first, so we'll just shift the Admiral out the way a moment. Here we have Admiral AKBAR. Not Admiral AKBAR, what am I saying? Here we have Squid Head. What can I tell you about Squid Head? Well, firstly, this is a Palitoy British variant of the figure, and we're just going to turn him around so you can take a good look at him. He's very squiddy and he's rather marvellous. He comes with this wonderful cloth cape, and underneath he has this rubber silver belt and a cream coloured skirt. And obviously there's far more details on the figure, but I'm not going to undress him as he's an absolute grade 10 mint condition figure. When I bought this guy, I bought him on the card when I was collecting carded figures. Unfortunately though, the card wasn't in as good a condition as him, and the bubble broke. And to be quite honest with you, the bubble also broke on my collecting carded figures. I find the bubbles far too fragile, really, to store and to look after. So that's why I started just collecting these guys loose and their variants. Now, what can I tell you about Squid Head? Well, apparently Squid Head is just his nickname, although it wasn't in 1983 when this figure came out. He was always just known as Squid Head, and effectively what Squid Head was simply an alien that just happened to be in the background at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. But if you read the Star Wars encyclopedia, they've gone and elaborated on the characters, people that were effectively just extras in the film and were probably only seen for about, well, a few seconds really in the film. Well, anyway, they decided to make figures of all these extras as well, because they was, the costumes were so elaborate and everything, and the figures actually looked better than the presents that appeared on screen. I absolutely love this figure. His head's sort of a cross between a squid and almost like a stingray type thing going on his head. He's got a pointy squid-like beak for a nose, 4 tentacles for a mouth, and gills for ears, and very human eyes. I don't have any variants of this particular figure, unfortunately. I can tell you straight up that the Kenner version has a darker cape and a lighter coloured blaster. But as I say, if you read the Star Wars encyclopedia, they'll tell you that Squid Head is just his nickname, and he's actually called Tassac, and he's basically Jabba the Hutt's accountant. Jabba the Hutt's accountant, and he comes from the planet, wait for it, Calamari, which I just think's a lovely thing to add to this all these years later. As I say, this figure, it came out in 1983. The variants are, on the Kenner version, are, a lighter gun and a slightly darker cape, and obviously there'll be different markings down the leg. Those are the only two variants of this figure I'm aware of, but I think he's absolutely fantastic. He's very charismatic, and I absolutely love him. The only drawback I always thought about this figure, the only drawback about it is the back of his head kind of reminds me of a nutsack. I don't know what you think about that, but that's what I always thought anyway. But it's a fantastic figure. It's fantastically detailed, all those little lumps and bumps on his head. I think he's marvellous. And anyway, that is Squid Head from 1983, and he was made by Palitoy. Moving on now to It's a Trap! Everybody's favourite, Admiral Akbar. This is a lovely complete version again. I have had this figure on a card as well, but I went and sold it, and that was a Kenner version. And I can tell you the varying differences in these figures. This is a Palitoy one, and how you can tell a Palitoy one from a Kenner one, obviously because the markings are all absolutely identical down the legs on this. They both have 1983. How you can tell is the paint job. The paint job on the arms particularly will be different. I can show you on. I've actually got a few versions of this. Well, a few of these figures, if you'll bear with me. This is my display one, my absolutely marvellous one. I have another absolutely marvellous one. The paint job's slightly different on the eyes, if I can just show that. Slightly different paint job on the eyes. But how we can tell that these are in any case Palitoy versions are on this rather play-worn one. On the arms, you'll notice that the arms of the Palitoy version are cast in this orange plastic, and the sleeves on the arms are painted white, as you can see where this one's worn away. Now the Kenner version, the arms are cast in they're cast in white plastic, and the arms are painted orange, and that's how you can tell whether you've got a Kenner one from a Palitoy one. Now all of mine are Palitoy. I have 3 of them. I got this really worn out one from a job lot. I never throw anything away. You know what I mean? And I'd urge you not to as well, because I mean, if you've got a knackered one like this, I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, just paint it up, repair the paint job. Okay, so no collectible value, but give it to a kid. Give it to your kids. You know, give it another airing. That's what I say. Now, let's take a look at the figure itself. Admiral Akbar is another fish alien. Of what providence I cannot tell you. You'll have to check that out. And I just think he's really cool. He looks like a cross between a goldfish or a cuttlefish. And he's really quite snappily dressed as well. He's got these white slacks on. They're not trousers, they are slacks, with a yellow pinstripe going up the side. He's got these rather curious shaped feet as well, which are quite interesting. I'll show you more closely on this one. They almost look like birds' beaks. And oh, that's the really worn one, isn't it? Let's have a look on this decent one. He wears slacks. He has these really curiously shaped feet, and a yellow pinstripe, and he has these pocket type pouches. He wears like a polo neck type tabard, and he looks rather snappily dressed for a fish guy. I love that face. I absolutely love it. He sort of looks like a cross between a goldfish and a cuttlefish somehow. And his arms and his hands, they always reminded me of Popeye's muscles, do you know what I mean? You know, he has those really chunky forearms, just like Popeye. And as I say, if your version of Admiral Ackbar is complete like mine, he should come with this, I don't know how you describe it, it's sort of like a, well, just a staff really, isn't it? Presumably, because he's an admiral, I wouldn't actually have thought that was a weapon. I would assume, I always just assume that was more like a pointy stick, you know, for pointing to things on, not the blackboard, but on the screen that he has in the film there. And there he is, guys, Admiral Ackbar, by Palitoy, issued in 1983, and he's amazing. And also Squid Head. Well, hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I will be back very, very soon with another one to show you. If you haven't already, please subscribe so that you don't miss that. And I shall see you again very soon. Cheers for watching, and bye-bye.